Welcome, Pisces, to your Uranus Cazimi 1 year forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. For the first time in 78 years this month, the sun in Gemini applies in an exact, precise conjunction with Uranus. They're absolutely unified. Uranus right in the disk, the heart of the sun. The sun's radiance and power pouring its energy towards Uranus and amplifying its core qualities. It's a hugely influential event for us all, but what will it mean for your sign, Pisces? I'm going to share on the screen your event chart, and by the end of the video, give you a clear idea of what you can expect in terms of energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive, but please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So for you, Pisces, the combination of the Sun and Uranus at 1 degrees and 30 is in your fourth house. Fourth house, very much to do with how we feel, where we live, our family history. But the sign of Gemini is about quick, fast communication. Can be data. It can also be short journeys, can be about quick movement. It's nimble, it's mutable, it's restless. So how will that more logical air energy play out in for you? The fourth house, which does have an echo of the energy of Cancer. It's more emotional. Well, the chances are over the next 7 years, you're going to change something about where you live. It could be to declutter it. It could be to make it uh, much more spacious. It could be that you'll relocate altogether. It may be that you want to get closer to siblings. You may want to get a bit further away from them. Just depends on your unique circumstances. But one of the things with Gemini energy, yes, it's vivacious. Yes, it can be very chatty and sparkly, but it is also needing stimulation. And I think wherever you live or whoever you live with, whether your stimulation comes from peace and quiet or living somewhere that's absolutely rammed full with activities, just depends on you. But what these energies are likely to do is to see you thinking more about your environment. But the environment doesn't need to be just where we live. It doesn't need to be something we talk about generally in terms of water quality and air quality. It's your immediate environment. So that could be where you work. So, for example, if you work somewhere which isn't particularly nurturing, it's not particularly chatty, people don't really ask how one another are, that kind of environment might not do it for you for not much longer, to be honest. But what this can also do is give you the opportunity to use your very considerable creative talents and hobbies, but in a new, fresh way that could be very good for you in terms of freeing you from some of those daily demands. Uranus very much about freedom, but also perhaps stimulating you with a new dimension, because Uranus essentially is about higher truths. It's the co-regent of Aquarius, and that's what it's very much about. But in the sign of Gemini, where is the higher octave ruler, the spiritual ruler of Mercury, it's really asking you to get in touch with your higher truth about your emotional situation. But Uranus, of course, can be restless and it can want to detach suddenly, and then it can want to attach suddenly. So it can be quite changeable. If you're someone who does like things to be quite settled, this could be a little bit challenging, but equally you could turn it to your advantage and bring a great deal more variety into your life. What about all the other planetary players? Well, let's look first of all what's in your zodiac sign. So that's the North Node, the true North Node through to the end of July. It's really been asking you since January 25 to get more in touch with what makes you uniquely you. But that is in a square with these two. And the South Node, which can be where we retreat, where when we're a little unsure, it's in the perfectionist sign of Virgo, and it's in your sector of relating. So if there's part of you that likes to keep a bit of an even keel, doesn't want to rock the boat, you might find this a bit more testing over the next year because you could suddenly be more outspoken. Uranus can be a rebellious influence. It can also be a disruptor. And if something between being in touch with what you need to manifest as an individual and those relationships is too much either one way, Uranus could come along to try and prompt you to put things on a better balance. But you do have your traditional ruler, Jupiter, still in the fifth house, with fifth house is superb, very much to do with playfulness, self expression, and the lovely nurturing Cancer through to the end of June. And you also have Venus. So these two planets are fortunate potentially. And Venus is in a lovely link with Mars in the earthy, sensual Taurus. Now, Mars in Taurus can take finance seriously, but that third house is a kind of Gemini echo. It needs a bit of stimulation. But if there's someone you're chatting to that you have who has an earthy allure, but also a charismatic personality, but you feel they're caring and they don't crowd you. And they're a good communicator, but good at communicating about how you feel. That relationship, if you encounter it over the next year, could turn out to be very important indeed. When it comes to converting some part-time hobbies to something that might give you a return, Saturn in your second house does suggest that over the next couple of years, an old income stream could dry up. But Saturn's link to Mercury is fantastic if you are wanting to do something at home or with a new business. You could be very canny. The key here is the planning and not to be too impetuous because Uranus and the Sun can be very impetuous. But we do have your modern aquatic ruler, Neptune, in a lovely link with these two. And I think if you are a creative, as Pisces people often are, whether you are deeply psychic, which is not a surprise, deeply caring, very artistic, the way that you convey your ideas, the quick, swift energy of Gemini, but with feeling, can really see your words at land. So that's exciting, I feel. Now, the moon is in your sixth house of practicalities, but in the warm Leo, but in a great link to the part of fortune. So you did have a home-based business. That looks very encouraging too. So what are the challenges? Well, Venus is in a square with Neptune. If there is someone you really fancy, and maybe you fancy them because there's something about them that's a little bit hard to quantify, that can be very alluring. But just be aware that Neptune square Venus is one of astrology's most, it really can see us getting drawn towards someone, but we don't actually know who they are, even if we think we do. So if you start being attracted by someone who's rather mysterious, I'd wait to get them to know them a little more. Remember, Uranus in the fourth house is a truth seeker for emotion. And then we have Pluto in a quincunx with Venus. If you are tempted by an old flame, or perhaps someone who's not fully available or a clandestine relationship, Pluto and Venus suggest it could lead to some pain. But we also have Pluto in a square with Mars, and this is the hardest aspect of all, and it's hardest for you, I'd say, because Pluto in the 12th house can be, in traditional astrology, secret enemies. Pluto, anyway, can be about power and leverage, and the 12th house can be where things are hidden, and Mars in the third house can be sudden, quick, blunt communications. So just be aware of, particularly around your work, the kind of the atmosphere and the kind of the shifting sands, because that professional environment might be a little bit challenging. So do keep your wits about you. But if you do work somewhere where there isn't very much sort of chat, there's not much even how are you, I think that could leave you a bit cold this year. But that can then encourage you to do something that actually does give you a sense of personal emotional satisfaction, but also stimulates your mind. How great is that? So I'm going to summarize those four areas for you, Pisces. When it comes to finance, having Mars in the second house of Taurus in a great link um, with having Mars in the third house of Taurus in a great link with Venus is terrific. I feel if you want to be proactive in research and ideas to improve your finances, the fifth house can be about speculation. But as far as your love life is concerned, if you meet someone who there is that real attraction, raw attraction, but also there is that nurture, but in a chatty, easygoing way, I think you should really persist with it. In an ongoing relationship, I think if something is out of kilter between the give and get, Uranus can push you really to face it. If it's not going to work, look at it. As far as making money is concerned and your professional situation, your talent and then manifest all your different talents get a great chance to shine this year, I feel. But if there are a lot of politics, I think that could be a sticking point for you. I don't think that you're going to enjoy that. You're going to have a strong sense of self-preservation and want to create space between you and people who drain you. And talking about energy, if there is someone very close to you who tends to be a little bit dependent on you, that's not to say you should be unkind, but Uranus encourages you to create maybe a little bit of space and some boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you are looking for that brand new relationship, do you know, having Jupiter and Venus in the fifth house is no bad thing. But I think if you're attracted to that old flame or something that's not really totally upfront, I would proceed with caution. But just to say, you can download your free Uranus factoid, all about the astronomy, the mythology, and the astrology, including Uranus in each of the 12 zodiac signs and each of the 12 houses. Please see below for more. I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of 1. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that are played out in our lives so far, but get a more intimate understanding of them and how we can work better with those energies future forwards. The free charts is your 12-month transit forecast, totally unique to each person, but also your draconic soul analysis. So that's 3 for the price of 1. Please see below for more. I've been doing this full-time for 30 years, but I first became interested in astrology when I was 14. I really want to share about natal astrology to as many people as possible. So if you've yet to watch my deep dive of moon magic for May, which goes into each of the 5 lunations of the month, please see that on the screen. If you've yet to watch your monthly general forecast for May, that's on the screen as well. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it would be an absolute pleasure. Please check out my testimonials below. And also, have you taken advantage of my free daily horoscope? Fire to your device each morning, get your early day celestial pit stop for your ascendant, your sun, your moon, whoever you want to read it for. Please see below for more. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Pisces. Thank you so much for joining me and look forward to seeing you again soon.